Are we on yet? Hello? Testing? Is this thing on? Hey, everybody. Tommy Lynch here with Snapdown Wrestling, SFBNRI. How you doing tonight? Welcome to another episode. Hope everybody had a happy holiday. I know I did. If I look 10 pounds heavier, it's because I am. It's not because TV adds 10 pounds. I'm actually 10 pounds heavier. I actually ate that much over the holidays. So it's a good thing I'm not wrestling because I would have to be sucking 10 pounds in one day. Not that I haven't done that before. But hopefully everybody had a great holiday. And we are back looking forward to the new year, looking forward to putting a lot of things behind us, definitely 2020 behind us, getting on with our lives with some type of normalcy, with vaccines and COVID-free and having mask burning parties and all this stuff is going to happen, I assure you, in 2021. But the most important thing that I am concerned about and worried about is a wrestling season going to happen. All right. There's a lot of people that are counting on it, thousands and thousands of hours and hundreds of tournaments across the country that these kids have put into to come up to their junior, senior year. Even freshman year in high school is a big year. So we are looking forward to a season. And from what I understand and with the way it's looking, it looks like we're going to have a season. It's just a matter of when and how long. Is it going to be a winter season? No, it is not. We are not having a winter season in wrestling. I can tell you that right now. Basketball season is barely getting a season off. I think they're going from like January 14th to like February 20th or something. It's like a 5-week deal. Terrible. Rough for basketball, but as I said before, basketball, in my opinion, is a higher risk sport than wrestling because of the contact that you're having with 30 different people in 1 hour, and you're handling a ball that everybody's handling and passing around. So moderate risk, I think not. Nothing against basketball. I want to see basketball. I want to see all the sports going, but don't sit there and tell me that it's a higher risk sport than wrestling because it is not. Okay. Now tonight is kind of like night of two-time state champions, all right, or state finalists in some cases. But tonight is our two-time state championship night, and we are going to kick things off with alumni all-stars. We have some great guests with us tonight. We have, like I said, some alumni all-stars. We have a coach with us, head coach from Charahoe, Scott Merritt, will be with us tonight. And for our refs rule segment, we have Joe Gravina, who's going to go over some rule changes and what's going to be happening with rules this upcoming season. So without further ado, let's get right into our alumni all-stars, and we're going to go with Kyle Merritt. Now, let me tell you about Kyle. He graduated from Charahoe last year, and his father, who's also on the show tonight, Scott Merritt, is the head coach of Charahoe. But Kyle was a 3-time middle school state champion. He was a Rhode Island high school wrestling 4-time All-State Award recipient and high school state champion, 2-time state champion. As I said, tonight's the night of 2-time state champions. And 2017 state champion, 2020 state champion, 2018 he was third, 2019 he was second. So he's a 3-time state finalist. 4-time All-Division, 4-time academic All-State, which, as we know, is very important. Guys, keep your grades up. It is extremely important. So that is very impressive to be the academic All-State. 2024 in New England Wrestling Championship, won 15 out of 16 invitational tournaments that he was entered into. It just goes on and on. Some of the other things that I wanted to mention about this fine, outstanding young man. He also did track and field, all division there. He was the track and field captain, wrestling captain for years. I don't know how many years, but might have been all 4 years. But we'll ask Kyle when he comes on. He was with the school council. He was the secretary of his school, class vice president. Won ROTC 3-year full scholarship at Norwich University. I can go on. Without further ado, Kyle Merritt, folks. Kyle, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Great. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
How many years were you a wrestling captain?
4 years.
You were 4 years.
Yeah,
Wow.
one and only.
One and only 4-year captain. So you were captain as a freshman.
Yes.
How'd you pull that off? Other than your father's the head
Um,
coach. But I know he doesn't
yeah,
show any
a lot.
favoritism, and
I
he's
know.
hard on you.
I know. So a lot of people did think it was like favoritism, but I mean, my brother wasn't a captain until his senior year, so I just came in. I just knew a lot of technique and just had like the passion and the drive that I think the team was kind of, I want to say it was like missing, but it definitely wasn't at the level it could have been. And I think I just kind of came in and showed that drive and determination, and had like technique down. And I think both the coaches, including my dad, just knew that I was the right choice. So. I was like one of three that year, so yeah, it was exciting.
Yeah, that is very exciting. I mean, you had to really show something coming into the room. First of all, you came into the room as a 3-time middle school state champion and middle school New England champion as well.
Yes. Yep.
So that right there shows something, but that's not enough. You got to come in, you got to bring it, you got to work hard, you got to be pushing yourself and others, and be a real role model in the room. And to come in and do that as a freshman is absolutely amazing. And then sustain that through all the years, sustain that level. And you won the state championship as a freshman.
Yep.
You won the freshman state championship. Did you go to the freshman states?
Yes, I won that, and then a week later won the actual championship.
And you won the actual. What was your record your freshman year? Do you remember?
I don't know it off the top of my head. I just know that I lost once during the season to Nate Williams from Hendricken, and then beat him in the finals for the state championship. So I think I had one loss there, and then twice in New England. So
right,
I had a pretty good season.
Yeah, for sure. And then you come back and you beat Nate Williams from Hendricken in the finals.
Yes.
Somebody that you already lost to forget about that, overcome adversity, and come back and win it when it really counts. Not that match don't count, but I'll tell you, I'd rather lose a match during the season than in the state finals.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think it kind of helped, kind of gave me that motivation to keep working at practice. Kind of like being down the slumps, it was like you had something to work forward to. So I think it kind of worked out in the end. Kind of reminded me how hard I need to work. That there's someone out there that can beat me. So a reminder. Then I think I won the match that counted. So.
We all need those reminders, don't we?
Yep.
Every once in a
important.
while,
yep.
We kind of get a little.
Yeah, it keeps you humbled.
Yeah, it's definitely humbling. But I think that can happen when you're winning so much that you tend to kind of maybe, I got this. I'm talented enough. It's good enough, and you might slack just that little bit. Meaning, hey, I'm not going to go for that run today, and got a little reminder. Come back hard and made it happen. Now, how did you do? The rest of your year-round wrestler, right? And
yes.
You do track and field, but you still you go into tournaments year-round and all that. How do you balance that and still maintain a 3.7 grade point average?
So my biggest thing was like I just used every opportunity I had. So like my school, we have like an advisory period where it's like you can work for like the portfolio or projects, but a lot of the times I would get those done like in class or something. And during this like period off, I would just grind everything out, and I had the be at home. Once I got home, I would have like an hour, 2 hours before practice. I would just be sitting there studying, doing work. It was just kind of, it was definitely difficult, but it was kind of just finding that balance where you have to set priorities. And personally, like I said, education first. So whether it was being like 15 minutes late to a practice or doing something, I just got the work done, and then worked extra harder if I had to start later or something like that. But definitely just balancing, finding, time management is very important. So it's kind of how I just figured it out over time.
Yeah, that's difficult, for a young man, in high school to try to balance all that. You're giving up a lot. And Vinny Macucci just wrote in saying lots of love, Kyle. He's the coach from Barrington. So
yes.
When you do great things and you're that level of a role model and you're that humbled, people can't help but love you. you can't help but be looked up to, not only by your peers, but by coaches as well, because you exemplify everything that a young wrestler should have, all the attributes, and trying to balance that and staying out of trouble and staying out of the, away from the wrong crowd and doing all that, and being able to maintain your grade point averages you did and maintain that level of athleticism in that many sports is really, really commendable. So congratulations on that. Talk about a little bit. Quite welcome. Talk about Norwich. What's going on there? You're there now?
Yes. Well, I'm home right now, but I'm going back the 16th. So it was a life-changing experience so far. I mean, nothing I was used to. Kind of went in there mentally prepared until, the first week came, and, wake up at 4 a.m. and getting screamed at by officers in the military. And it was just a new lifestyle, but I think wrestling definitely helped me prepare for it, because right away I knew I was one of the most probably physically prepared people there. So my goal was to kind of get my name out there, because a lot of the people that went there, they had parents that were alumni and they already had their name put there. But I mean, none of my parents, both my parents didn't go, none of my siblings went. So I was the first person there. So I wanted to kind of make a name for myself and kind of start my own legacy. And love the wrestling team. It's a great brotherhood, very, very well connected to all of them. They all love working really hard, and we just like to put in, every day, give 100%. As of now, it sounds good. Sounds like we might have a season. We were told to come back ready to wrestle, so I'm excited for that. Don't really know exactly what's happening, but here we're trying to get some dual meets in, so I'm excited. Yeah,
that's great. And how many guys on the team? You met everybody and all that?
Yeah, I would say probably like 25, 30 people.
Mm-hmm. So decent numbers. And
yes.
What are you doing in practice? Did you actually start practice before the break and all that?
Yeah, so the university has like a no visitor policy. So no one comes on campus, no one leaves. So luckily the wrestlers, we get tested weekly, because we're as high-risk sport. So any athlete, doesn't matter what sport you are, you're considered high risk. So they test us weekly for COVID. Once we produce the result, we have to send it to our trainer. If he clears us for the week, we basically get to go to practice. We had on mat practices in pods. So there'd be like 2 to 3 person pods, and we'd just be with the week, and we'd do just normal drills and live wrestling, just like a normal practice really, and a lot of scrapping. So it was good to be on the mat at least. I was hoping that was what we were going to be able to do, but I wasn't really sure. So all worked out.
Yeah, that's great. None of us were really sure. It's good that you're planning to go back to wrestling once everything goes back into play after the break. And that's what we're all looking to do. Like I said before, vaccines in play. It's a game changer. It's the light at the end of the tunnel that we were looking for. It's that coverage going out the front line. It's going out, I believe today, actually started going out to the nursing homes, and then trickling down to the elderly and the senior citizens and schools, and everything is going to kind of get back to normal. And I think we are going to have that season. So we are all excited about it, not only on the high school level, the students and the coaches, but on the college level as well, across the board, whether it's Norwich or Rhode Island College or JWU. Lonnie kind of like lost all hope, like he was not going to have a season, and it looks like they're going to have a season now. So hopefully it just keeps going that way. Everything stays positive, and the percentages go down, and the percentages of us having a season go up. All right. So hang tight, kid. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to talk to Kyle a little bit more, bring on some other guests as well. So hang in there. You're watching Snapdown Wrestling with Tommy Lynch, sfbnri.com. We'll be right back.
So now I'm on my second order, and guess what? This is the bachelor's dream. Because I just open the jar, make my pasta, and I got my homemade sauce.
Yeah.
Go buy the Cucina di Cafarina pasta sauce. It's better than your mama's gravy. I'm just telling you that right now. Go ahead and fight me on it. 5.0. You're not going to get a better sauce out of the jar from a store than Cucina di Cafarina.
Nice. Okay, we are back with Snapdown Wrestling and Kyle Merritt. How you doing, Kyle?
Doing good.
Good buddy. We just played that highlight video of you. That was in Virginia Beach. Was that the Nationals? Your junior year?
Yep.
Right. What happened your senior year?
Didn't happen. Yep. 189 wins in high school. Couldn't make the 190 because of it. So.
Right. And 189, that's what you finished with. That's a record. That's Charahoe win record. 189 wins in high school at Charahoe High School.
Yep.
Looking for the 190. Didn't get there. The previous record at Charahoe was 169.
Yes.
Blew it away.
168, right? But yeah. Yep.
168. And you beat it with 169 and finished 189 wins. And how many losses?
25.
He's like, I don't want to remember the losses. 21. Right.
Just got confirmed. Confirmation from my father. 21.
21 losses, but 189 wins. That is impressive. A shame that you couldn't go to the Nationals your senior year, because
me too.
I'm pretty sure that you would have been right up there and on the podium for All-American. But
I was watching that video, and sometimes I remember a couple of those matches where I think I went 3-2 that year, and both the matches I lost by a point. And I'm like, I still think about what I could have done. I'm like, oh my God, I could have done this, that. I could have been this aggressive. And it was right there. Both those kids I lost, I think, got All-American, and so heartbreaking, but
you still think about that. Guess what?
Still
You're
think
not
about
alone.
it.
We all lay in
Yeah.
bed still. Myself, I still think about some of my high school matches, things that I could have done differently, and all that fun stuff. But let's bring Dad on. Shower hose coach Scott Merritt. How you doing, Scott?
Very good, Tom. I got to say that everything's been about teaching and COVID and for me, virtual teaching. But that's the first time when you just show that video, you got me all pumped for a season. So it was great seeing that video again.
I'm glad. Yeah. You should be getting pumped for a season because we are going to have one. I've always said it. I've always stayed positive. I've always put out the positive vibes that we are going to have a season no matter what, because we could extend it down. We could, put it to the spring. Let's put it to the spring. Now it looks like, I was talking with Eddie on the show last week, Eddie German, and he said it looks like it might even be a March start, March, April, May. So we'll get a full season in. And I don't care what other sport that we compete with, to be honest with you. I don't care if it's football, lacrosse, baseball. It doesn't matter to me. Yeah, we're going to lose a couple of guys, but what are you going to do for the diehard wrestlers to have a full season and to not lose out, even the freshmen coming in and the seniors going out? It's got to happen. How many seniors you got on your team this year?
This year, I'm going to be light on the seniors this year. James Doherty, Christian Fortune, and I think that's it. I think I only have two.
Lance Del Bonus too.
Oh, Lance Del Bonus. Yes. Yep. 3.
Right. But I mean, just let's talk about Doherty. I mean, for his senior year, he's going after a New England championship. He's looking to be All-American this year, is he not?
Absolutely. He's someone that, add the fact that his brother is a 2-time state champ. I'm psyched. I really hope he has that opportunity to equal his brother with 2 state championships. And James was 4th as a freshman in the state, 4th as a sophomore, and then junior. So sky is the limit for him. He works hard off season lifting. Absolutely. I'm excited for him and the whole team.
Yeah, for sure. But we need that season for guys like James. And on my end, being the head coach of Cranston West, I mean, let's just put it right out there. The 2 names that come right to the top of the list are Tyler Stevenson and Chris Gomez. I mean, they're seniors this year. They deserve a senior year. I mean, who works harder than a James Doherty, Tyler Stevenson, and a Chris Gomez? These guys go all year round and put it all into the wrestling. And they're worried still about not being able to have that opportunity to get out there for their senior year and wrestle. And they should have that opportunity now. So I'm pumped for what's to come there.
I think that's the key thing that you're talking about is opportunity. I'm so grateful to the principals committee, the RIAL, and I hope the vaccine comes out. I hope numbers towards the spring start to come down a bit, but just give us the opportunity, and let's see how it goes. As you know, our wrestlers are using a number of things, defense soaps, and we're constantly cleaning the mats, and just to have the opportunity. And we also have the benefit of seeing Iowa and a couple of the states see how they make out through the winter, seeing they're having it now. But yes, give us the opportunity, and I would love to see your 2 boys, your whole team. I think your team's going to be quite nice this year, so I look forward to a lot.
Yeah, me too. Thanks. Our team is going to be nice. I believe you guys won the freshman state championship in 2018. And
I know we won it twice. I cannot remember which years. I apologize, but
that's right. It was 2018 for sure.
Okay.
The last one, and then we came in and we won the freshman state championship in 19 and 20. All right, and looking to do it in 21 and put the hat trick up on the board. But I'm happy with the back-to-back, to be honest with you.
Well, I know you asked last week who some of the coaches thought were the top 5. I have you in my top 5. So.
You're kidding. Thank you. Wow. I appreciate that. We got some really strong kids coming back. We had a really strong freshman team last year. I had 4 in the finals, 3 won it. It would have been 4, but an illegal slam, happened right at the very beginning. Kid couldn't continue, and he ended up taking second. But I had a 3rd place finisher, real strong, Matt DeFusco, 145 pounder. Kyle, you wrestled.
Yep. Yeah, I remember that.
He's a freshman, and
that's insane.
yeah,
That's
he
impressive.
really does well on the mat. Took the freshman state championship fairly easily, like I'm sure you did your freshman year, and went to the States. His big thing in the States was beating. I had his name right at the tip of my tongue. The kid from Woonsocket, the senior.
I know.
With the mustache at 45.
Yeah, I know exactly who you're talking about. I can't think of the name.
Beat him. He got beat. So Matt DeFusco
I never
got
saw him.
by him in the Wilson Cup at the South County tournament, but came back in the States and beat him in the semifinals. In the quarterfinals, and got beat in the semis by you. He wrestled you in the semis.
Yep, I remember that.
Couldn't you just lose? I mean, you were leaving anyway. Just final, but he was
on a
third
mission.
as a freshman.
And that was a tough weight last year. That was a very good weight. That was a stacked weight, I guess you could say. So that was very impressive.
For sure. So a lot of good kids coming back for me. I'm really pumped. A lot of good kids coming back. Period, across the board on all the teams. And I think some of the numbers are going to be a little bit down, but I think once we get the go ahead and the clear to wrestle and the season's on, everybody's going to come back. Practice is going to look a little different, but Scott, like you said, it's going to be different in the way we're already cleaning. We're already pretty clean. We're cleaning the mats, but now it's going to be the defense wipes going on the mat and coming off the mat. I don't know if shaking hands is even gonna happen, but at that, the contact tracing alone, compared to other sports, is going to be a lot easier. You have a bracket, you know exactly who you contacted, who you wrestled, and most of the contact is going to be under 6 minutes. In some cases, like if you're wrestling Kyle Merritt, you ain't going to be out there for 15 seconds, But so I mean, these things have to be considered, and I don't think they were considered in the beginning. I think everybody, including the governor's office, was ready to write off wrestling and being like, there's no way you can keep that safe. You can't get any more contact without really realizing the grand scope. And quite frankly, we would have went out there and wrestled with masks on if we had to. I mean, I can't imagine there's a wrestler out there that would say, oh, well, no, I'm not wrestling because I got to wear a mask. So we would do whatever it takes to do that. Vinny's chiming in again. Scotty is a legend and a gentleman. Looking forward to seeing Charahoe do well this year, and so am I. And Scotty, you are a legend. You were the outstanding wrestler in the 1986 state championship, if I'm not mistaken, right?
That is correct. Yes.
Right. And the state champion, 2-time finalist, New England champion.
Yes.
Yeah, your senior year. So you had an amazing.
Yeah, I took down Kevin McCarthy that was 40-0 in the New England finals. Beat him 11-3.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Wow. Yeah. What a run. What a senior year. Now, I remember being at a match. You wrestled Danny Smith, speaking of legends.
Yep.
Couple times. A couple of times. Right. And the match that I went to was at Coventry. I mean, back in the day, what year was that? 85?
Yeah, I think that was, I thought that was, it was 85 or 86. I remember Coach Millen setting that match up, but I can't remember if it was my junior or senior year.
Right. Everybody was waiting for that match because let me tell you, folks, Scott Merritt was an animal, and it trickled down to his son, Kyle. I mean, like Kyle, he was a spider. He'd get on you, he'd wrap you up. Just amazing. But that one match, Danny Smith, you lost. I
did. I was winning, and he caught me, I believe, in a cradle.
Yeah.
And cradle was my move. So shame on me.
I remember that. And, he was just destined. I don't know what star he wished upon, but he beat guys that he should not have beaten. Take nothing away from Danny Smith. He was a 4-time state, 4-time New England champion, undefeated in high school.
Yes.
Just absolutely amazing. And, a lot of people thought that you were going to beat him that night, and you were, and then you just got caught. But what an amazing match and some amazing times.
Absolutely.
For sure. And Kyle, do you ever watch tapes of your dad?
Nope. I watched one tape of him wrestling in the New England. It's actually a funny story. My grandfather has it, and he gave it to some guy to record it because he wanted to watch the match. And the guy that was recording ended up recording his own son. I don't even think he realized it. So I didn't even get to see my dad really wrestle. Maybe like 15 seconds, and I just watched this random stranger's son wrestle in the New England. So yeah, I
He was a
wrestled for like 20
maniac.
seconds.
He was a maniac, Kyle.
Yeah,
All right,
I've heard.
He was ridiculously insane, an insane level, controlled chaos.
Someone always tells me, "Oh, he did this." I tried to match him. Like I heard, "Oh, he got a 7-second pin." Okay, I gotta get a 7-second pin, and I matched him. You know, so he won one state championship. I won 2. It's just been a family competition. So I didn't win a New England championship though. So he asked me there.
Hey, you know something? Speaking of that, you would have if 30 seconds left in the third period, you're in the semifinals. The kid's sitting down. You got that double leg, and for some reason, you took your elbow and you put it on the other side of his hip, and he scooted around you and got the 2. You remember that moment? Yeah, of course you do. You was in it. It was just last year. It was the semifinals of the New England. That was right there, or you would have been in the finals.
Yeah.
There's absolutely
Never. I don't know. I think I lost the match before I even went into it. Never done it in New England's, and senior year, I'm finally in the semifinals, and my mind was all over the place. Wasn't thinking straight. So
it's tough.
It's a lot of pressure. It was a bad match.
But now that you've been in that pressure, when it happens in college, you're going to be able to eat it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. All right?
Yep.
All right? That's on a smaller scale. Okay? Now you're up in the big leagues here. Now you can take all those experience, been there, done that. Keep your head always about you when you're on the mat. With that, we're going to take another short break and be right back. And we're going to go into refs rules segment. After that, this is Snapdown Wrestling, sfbnri.com, and we'll be right back.
Hey everyone, it's Rob from the Road Pitchout Report.
All right, and we are back with Snapdown Wrestling. Did you guys see that food?
Look good.
Look amazing.
Yeah, that was Ron Robert. His son Noah was a captain for me last year and as a junior. So he was a junior senior captain. And Ron is also the president of SFBN RI and produces the show. So that's him. He does a food review. Try to catch it. He reviews all these different restaurants in Rhode Island, and he's eating lots of good food. But we got to get him on a treadmill because he's going to start gaining a lot of weight. I'm telling you, I gained a lot of weight, and we got to get back working out. Because of all this, I haven't gone to the gym when we were quarantined and on break and on pause and all this. All I do is stay home and cook Italian food. And cook Italian food and eat Italian food and make desserts. And it's just terrible. This is the heaviest I've ever been. But I'm looking forward to getting on the mat and losing some of this weight, which as a wrestler, it comes easier for us because we're able to regulate our weight. We've been doing it for so long. I think once I start dieting, cutting weight, getting back into a little bit of a workout routine, weight's just going to shed down and drop off. So it's going to happen. Not like the old days. Remember, Scott, we used to suck weight. That's not even a thing anymore.
I remember being in the hot box, the jacuzzi, all wiping the sweat off with my meal ticket. Love those days.
Yeah, no, it's insane what we used to do, Kyle. We wear rubber suits and go running in that. I think the record that I did, I think I lost 12 pounds in one day to make weight. I'd go in a sauna with a rubber suit on with a exercise bike and lose weight that
That's
way.
crazy.
It was just insane. Scotty Martin for Rhode Island College used to do that, and they, as a joke, they locked him in the sauna. They forgot him in there for like 8 hours. They come back. They had to drag him out. Remember Scotty Martin? He was the 18-pound back in the day, 4-time New England champion, All-American. Yep. They called him the Worm.
Was he one of the ones that did it with a broken hand one year?
Yeah.
No?
Yeah. And he wrestled for Cranston East. But yeah, real unsafe practices of losing weight back then. Now with the skin fold tests and this, doing the skin and the hydration tests and seeing where everybody's at, and then having a period to where you got to wait until before you can hit a certain weight. What do you do with your guys? Would you have them do that as early as possible, or?
We usually do it within 3 or 4 days of, I think November 2nd is usually when we can take the kids. I usually try to do it within 3 or 4 days of that time frame. So yeah, to kind of whittle it down. And, as we coached over the years, I think we learned more and more that performance increased when we were making sure the kids were hydrated and eating right. So yes.
Oh, is that Dan Gable?
Yes, it is.
Not to interrupt you, but I got to ask, how in the hell in the world did I tell you he was good? Did I tell you he was a maniac? Huh? This is proof positive right there. Dan Gable in a fireman's carry up on his shoulders, and Dan's like, "He got me. What do you want me to do?" Oh, you Dan Gable.
That was at a Rhode Island College wrestling clinic.
No kidding.
Yeah,
that is hilarious. That's great. So, long story short, get it done as early as possible. Your hydration test. Make sure the kids are losing weight safely and effectively. Make sure they're doing it through some type of nutritional blueprint. I supply my wrestlers with a nutritional blueprint so that they can come down safely with eating the right foods, doing it through a mathematical formula, through nutritionists and things like this that I've been able to put together, and then eat to maintain the certain weight. So this way you're constantly eating. There are the days of not eating till you get to the scale, and then is over on my team. That is not happening. So hopefully across the board, guys, all the coaches that are listening tonight, make sure, and I'm sure you're doing this, but make sure early on, get the hydration test so that they can effectively and safely get to the weight that they need to be at a certain time. Don't wait, because you'll end up in a position to where, let's say you're not going to be eligible for that weight class until January 5th. Well, I mean, that's normally a month and a week into the season. So come on, guys, let's make sure we're doing it in a timely manner and make sure we're doing it safely and effectively. And speaking of clinics and losing weight, we're going to move right into this next segment with refs rules. And we're going to be pulling up Joe Gravina. Joe wrestled at Warwick Vets, graduated in 2002. He's a 2-time state champ. Did I say tonight was a night of 2-time state champions? There's Joe for Vets. Nice pitcher. 2-time state champion at 189, third in New England's at 189, and he was a state finalist in 2000. So he was a 3-time state finalist, a 2-time state champion, started officiating like right out of high school, like 2003. Okay. So the very next year he's on the mat reffing, obviously, loved the sport, obviously wanted to be a part of the greatness after the fact and getting into refereeing. He's refereed his first state tournament 2 years after becoming a ref in 2005, since refereed 15 state tournaments and refereed his first New England in 2009, has since refereed 7 New England tournaments, and he's currently the president of the high school referee, the RIWOA. Also is involved with basketball umpiring. Without further ado, great guy, excellent ref, really knows his stuff. Joe Gravina to head refs rule. How you doing, Joe?
I'm doing well, Tommy. How are you?
I'm doing great. Great. Thanks. Really excited about having you on the show tonight. Thanks for taking the time, and really excited about having a season, and wondering if you've heard anything outside of everything that we've already heard about a start date, or what you've heard, and then get into some of the rule changes from last year to this year and reiterate some of the ones from last year.
So unfortunately, I haven't heard anything more than what you guys have heard. I've actually gotten a majority of my up-to-date information from watching your podcast and hearing the other coaches speak about what they've been talking about in coaches' meetings. Unfortunately, we haven't gotten a lot of direct communication from the Interscholastic League about when and where things are going to happen. We, as a group of officials, have been in constant contact with each other, sending out surveys and email communication to try and determine how many officials we're going to have access to, as a change in season might mess with guys' the ability to do it, schedules. As with all officials at high school sports in Rhode Island, no one's doing this full time. So, they're dealing with work schedules, they're dealing with childcare schedules, things that they may have been able to do in the winter they can't do in the spring. I myself am going to have a little bit of a conflict. As you said, I'm a baseball umpire, and I don't do that in high school. I do that for a Division I college, and I travel all over the country for that. So that's going to have me play a little bit of back and forth between doing the two sports at that time of year. But I'm still looking forward to the opportunity of getting out of the mat. A lot of our officials are really excited about the fact that there could still be a season. Just something that we all really want to be a part of. It's something that we miss when we're not out there. As far as specific COVID rules, that I haven't heard anything about in terms of what is going to be asked of referees, competitors, coaches, building facilities. None of that has kind of been laid out. I just think that we all need to understand that, especially with a sport like wrestling, most COVID regulations are gonna sound foolish because of how much contact that we're in with each other, because of the nature of the sport. They're gonna have a sense where they're not gonna sound quite like anything makes sense. But we as a community need to do everything that we can do to make sure that this season goes off, that make sure that the season happens. So if whatever they lay out in front of us, we're going to do the best that we can to do what they ask us to do, to keep our wrestlers safe, to keep our coaches safe, to keep our officials safe, to keep everybody involved in the gymnasium safe, and still have a great 2020, 2021 season.
Yeah, well said. John Clark tuning in and leaving a comment. Thanks, John, talking about our amazing guests. Of course, that goes on when Joe comes on, Again, Joe, thanks for joining us. But really, Kyle and Scott, thanks for joining us as well. Definitely amazing guests. And I didn't know that about the fact that you may not be involved so much this year because of the juggling of the schedule like that.
So I don't want to say I won't be involved, but it would depend on what the season looks like.
Right.
If there are mainly dual meet / tri-meet type events, those would be a lot easier for someone like me to do, as I'm much more local during the week. If there are extensive weekend events, it would be a little bit more difficult for me to do because those are the times when I do my traveling for baseball.
Gotcha.
So it also depends on what happens in my baseball season. We still don't know what the NCAA baseball season is going to look like. A lot of conferences are deciding to get rid of non-conference schedules, traveling schedules. They're reorganizing their schedules so that they're playing more local teams rather than teams that are in their conferences that they might have to take a flight to. So I just, to be honest, I just don't know. I will definitely be involved in some way or another. Lord willing, I'd be setting aside the time to make sure that I'm a part of the postseason for the Rhode Island Interscholastic League, because it's definitely something I would want to be a part of, and be a part of it as much as I possibly can, as will all of our other outstanding officials.
Right. Great. Yeah. Well, you're heading things up. You did a great job. You do a great job we're happy to have you and hope that you're able to continue to be a part of that. Now, now that we've talked about, the COVID end of it and keeping things safe, and we don't know when we're going to start the season, but we do know that we're going to have somewhat of a season, barring any unforeseen, spike or something, crazy happen. Right now, everything's kind of day to day, week to week. Nothing's in stone. So we're just trying to do the best we can, follow the rules, stay safe, get things going to where we can start having a season. That being said, what, if anything, has changed rules wise? Have you had a meeting to talk about rules changes, or is that?
So we haven't had a face-to-face meeting with our referees yet, but the rule changes for 2020, 2021 have been released by the National Federation of High Schools. There are some very significant changes this year, some of which take place off the mat, some of which take place on the mat, but every rule that has kind of been changed is quite significant. Starting with weigh-ins. You just had a big segment on how people are going to have to weigh in, and weighing in this year might be a little bit more challenging for some competitors because weigh-ins are going to be required to happen in a full legal uniform. So wrestlers will have to wear a full singlet or the full two-piece uniform, whether it's the compression shirt and shorts or the singlet. That is rule change number one this year. So you're talking about a half pound possibly of added weight on the wrestler's body when they step on the scale, and no allowance is to be given when that happens. So every wrestler weighs in that legal uniform. The main reason for that choice is because of the increased participation needs and wants of female competitors, and the hope and want to streamline the weigh-in process. No longer some minor rule changes here is that weigh-ins will be gender neutral. No weigh-in will be separate for female and male wrestlers. They will weigh in side by side, shoulder to shoulder, with the rest of their team because of this new rule change.
See. Okay. Well, could a wrestler weigh in a singlet and then go out there in shorts and compression shirt?
Yes. So as long as the uniform that they weigh in is a legal uniform, not wearing shoes, knee pads, headgear, just the actual clothing, legal uniform. As long as that is legal by the rule book, then that's what they will be allowed to weigh in. So
that still will make the difference for for some wrestlers.
That's
as you know.
I mean, it may make the difference for some wrestlers on whether or not they make weight, but it may also help you get more wrestlers in your room. As you might, there are some barriers that are created from some of the situations that wrestlers are put in, specifically new wrestlers. So it's just things that need to be taken into account as wrestlers are watching their weight throughout the week, what they're going through to get ready for an event.
Okay. So that's definitely new, weighing in full uniform. Wow. All right. Which, makes what I said earlier, like you said about making sure that you're down safely, effectively, and being able to maintain. And that's a surprise for me for that change to come across the board. But I seen it coming. Yep. I just didn't think it was going to come this soon. But I'm all for it for sure. Hey, Rhonda, how you doing? Rhonda Legassi, awesome to see you as well. And Chris Carbone, that's my assistant coach. What's up, Chris? How you doing? Love you, buddy. And something that we knew was going to come eventually. So what else has changed? Facial hair. I know that last year they were hard on like mustaches and stuff like that and stuff, beards. I mean, has that changed or? Well,
so no facial hair changes have been made. I personally am hoping that one day they will adopt what the NCAA adopted a few years ago, that as long as it's long enough to not be abrasive, not like a scruffed up thing that can be
like what you've got.
Like what I have right now. As long as I'm hoping that one day that they will change that, but unfortunately they haven't. So still, competitors from below their earlobes and below their lip need to be clean shaven. They did make a hair change though, that they completely have removed all wording for hair length out of the rule book. So for gentlemen who like to wear their hair a little bit longer and female competitors that want to keep their long hair, there is no longer a requirement to tie it up into a place where it is above the shirt collar or wear a head cover. As long as the hair is not inconducive to being able to apply reasonable holds in wrestling, the hair can be as long as the wrestlers want it to be.
Wow.
Yes. So
That's
no
huge.
longer a restriction on hair length.
So, and they don't even have to put it up in the.
It doesn't have to go up.
Yeah.
It can be controlled with a tie. Specifically, you would think wrestlers with longer hair would want to keep it out of their eyes.
Sure.
So they can control it with some sort of device. That device just simply can't be plastic, hard, or abrasive. It needs to be some sort of elastic band or anything like that. But there is no requirement to keep the hair above the shirt collar or above the eyebrows or above the earlobes the way the previous rule was written.
They could tuck it up into a cap.
They can wear the cap. They can wear the cap. That is still legal for them to do. It's just not required. But if they do, it still has to be a legal cover. It needs to be attached to the ear guards the way it typically would have been.
Yeah.
Going with that, they added a comment or an addition to the unnecessary roughness rule that disallows hair pulling. Although we probably assumed that would have always been something, it's now specifically written in there as unnecessary roughness. That specific wording is key. It is not unsportsmanlike conduct. It is unnecessary roughness. There are some differences there between the two because of what would happen if that penalty were to assess later on in the match. Who would get choice and overtimes would be different if it was scored one way versus the other. So hair pulling, if it's intentionally done, is unnecessary roughness. I know we're running short on time, so I'll run through them quick if you really want me to.
Yeah, well, we started late. Like I said, my makeup artist didn't make it on time, so we had to wait for that. I'm just kidding. I don't have a makeup artist.
I gotcha.
That does my makeup before the show. But so we got a little more time. We're going to allow for that for you to definitely finish because this is important, especially with the rule changes.
Yeah,
for sure. We're going to go a little longer.
So yeah, no restrictions on hair length, but if their hair is long and it is intentionally grabbed or pulled, it's an unnecessary roughness penalty.
And what's that? What is that?
That falls into your standard penalty chart of technical violations and illegal holds. They remove stalling from that penalty chart, but it does fall into the same penalty chart over in sportsmanlike conduct for what's happening on the mat. So first effort of any one of those things in a row would be 1 point, second 1 point, 2 points, and then a disqualification. And again, that's for all of them together. It's not individual to each. But
right. Okay. And so unnecessary roughness happens. There's a hair pull. And then the wrestler goes to get up off the mat another time, say into the next period, and the other wrestler pushes the wrestler down. That's unsportsmanlike conduct.
Again, it would depend on what you specifically saw, when it specifically happened. It's something that would happen in between whistles could be unsportsmanlike conduct. Something that would happen is as we're going off the mat prior to the whistle and there's an unnecessary shove where he's intentionally throwing him into the bleachers, that would probably be unnecessary roughness because it was done in the course of the actual action of wrestling. A couple of different specific differences there.
So right, I'm saying like point wise on the example, like
each one would still be first point for the hair pull, 1 point for that act. Again, the only difference between unnecessary roughness and unsportsmanlike conduct is if a second unsportsmanlike conduct were to happen at any point, that would be a disqualification. It also affects who would have choice if the match did get into a certain point of overtime. Unsportsmanlike conduct supersedes that first point scored mentality.
Gotcha. Okay. Excellent. Anything else?
So a technical violation has been adjusted. And this actually goes back to something that we saw in Rhode Island in the state finals a couple of years ago, and that is if a shoe comes off at all during the course of traditional wrestling. It is now a technical violation to have the shoe come off. Simple, straightforward as that. The idea being is that wrestling shoes, as we know, they go up above the ankle. They are naturally designed to be tied above the ankle. The eye holes go all the way to the top. And if you were to tie your shoe tight there and the shoe didn't actually come untied, there's no reason that shoe should come off your foot. What they have seen, I guess, in multiple states throughout wrestling is that wrestlers are only tying the shoe specifically up to the bend point where the shoe starts to turn up. Right. For the added bonus that if the shoe were to come off, they would get out of a takedown or be able to create an escape situation a little bit better. Tying the shoe down there is technically illegal. It's supposed to be laced all the way up. It's not being worn the way that the manufacturer intended. So what they're saying now is if for any reason the shoe comes off at all during the course of wrestling, it is a technical violation against that wrestler for his shoe coming off. It is also the start of his injury clock and the first injury or second injury timeout in order for them to fix it.
Okay.
So,
all right. So that's a point. The technical violation, that'd be a point.
Mm-hmm. There would be a point, falls in that standard penalty chart along with the other illegal holds and unnecessary roughness. Wherever it happened in the chart is what the points would be awarded at that point.
So that could, all right. So then that could be,
it could be a 2-point penalty depending on where we are. It could be a disqualification if you've already had your 3 other penalties.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. That's big.
Yep.
That's big. Lace up those shoes, guys.
Yeah, and they did make a clarification to fleeing the mat. This is not something that should be new to any Rhode Island coaches or wrestlers. This is something that Rhode Island has always kind of implemented as its interpretation. And I believe it's always intended to have been the interpretation. It just wasn't specifically split out. And that is fleeing the mat cannot be called if scoring occurred. So I guess they had some situations across last year where somebody was trying to flee the mat, was taken down anyway, and the referee double dipped and awarded the takedown and the technical violation. That is not something our Rhode Island officials have ever done. Our interpretation for as far as I've been an official would be if points were scored, we're not going to basically, double dip on the points there. And now that is specifically written into the rule book that you cannot get a fleeing the mat penalty if the opponent scored their points. It just can't happen. It would only happen as if you cause the action to actually get out of bounds and you stop the points from occurring. Okay,
that's good to know.
Our next one is the stalling 2-point penalty. About 5 or 6 years ago now, the 2-point stall penalty, if it ever occurred, required that on the next stoppage that the opponent would also get choice of position. We haven't seen the 2-point stall penalty in recent years because they removed stalling from the penalty chart. It doesn't get there as often. But they did put in an additional provision to that is that if the 2-point stall penalty happens at all, the match will be stopped immediately. That was not always the case. We only stopped the match at the next stoppage point. Sometimes it happened because of the stall call. It was the wrestler on top. In other cases, though, if the wrestlers were neutral, wrestling continued until there was an actual stoppage. They went out of bounds or something else, and then the choice would be given. They ran into some situations, I guess, in which the 2-point stall penalty happened very close to the end of the match, and then the choice was never awarded because the match ends at the match ran out of time. So the requirement now is if any referee calls stalling and is at the 2-point stalling penalty, no matter what position the wrestlers are in, the match will be stopped. Even if it's the bottom wrestler, even if the wrestlers are in neutral situations in which we would typically allow the wrestling to continue, the match must be stopped if the 2-point stall penalty is being called in order to award the choice.
And then the choice would be awarded to the one.
The wrestler who wasn't stalling, they would then get choice top, bottom, neutral.
Okay, and then if the stall happens again,
it would be a disqualification.
After disqualification, right? Same type of chart and progression.
Yeah. So the only real change here is that we stop stalling. We stop the match at stalling if it's the top wrestler and the wrestlers are on the mat. We don't stop the match for stalling if it's the bottom wrestler. We don't stop the match stalling if the wrestlers are neutral. We don't stop the match stalling if it's the top wrestler and we're rear standing. What they're saying now is if it's the 2-point penalty, no matter what, it must be stopped. So that changes it slightly, but it is a change.
For sure. Yeah.
And last but not least, one of the ones that I think is going to cause the biggest gray area and set of arguments for the year, and that's imminent scoring during prior to an injury timeout. Previous to this year, if an injury occurs prior to scoring, the referee really did not have any discretion. There was no points scored. Points were not allowed to be scored if the injury happened prior to the takedown being completed, reversal completed, escape, so on. Now the referee has discretion to award the points if they felt that the scoring would have happened regardless of the injury. I get in the explanation that the NFHS put out, basically what they're saying is that there is a fear that a lot of wrestlers were basically throwing up their finger, calling for an injury timeout to stop the points from occurring rather than actually being injured. So what they're allowing now is the referees to basically use good judgment. That does not mean that every time an injury timeout happens, prior to a possible scoring situation, points will be awarded. And I think that's where arguments are going to happen. For example, you got two guys that shoot in head to head. One guy's forehead catches the other guy's nose, knocks him into a little bit of a daze. Obviously, the guy that gets on the nose, he's probably got it worse. He's going to be woozy. He might start falling down. The other guy continues on. He felt it. It hurt him, but he keeps on wrestling and maybe finishes the double leg. I, as an official there, am not going to be awarding scoring. Why? Because if he didn't get hit on the nose, if the injury didn't occur right then and there, I have no reason to assume that the takedown would have been successful. Similarly, if I got a guy in on a single leg and he's turning the corner hard and he's reaching down for an angle, he's about to limp arm out, and in the middle of his limp arm out, that kid sticks up his forearm and he starts going like this, and he finishes the limp arm and comes around, there's one where I'm going to sit there and say that injury wasn't caused by the situation that just happened. I'm going to allow that point to happen. It's going to come out to good refereeing, a good understanding of what it is that's actually happening on the mat, good judgment by the official, smart, effective officiating. But because of the ambiguity, because it's truly a judgment call on the official, I can see a lot of issues where there's going to be some good conversations that may be had at the head table between our coaches and our officials when those situations arise.
Right. And good knowledge by the coaches needs to happen as well, and making sure that they know that, these rules are in effect. And I know that we've had, meetings in the past every year for rule changes, and I'm new. This is only my second year. Last season was my second season coaching. And someone like Scott, who's been coaching how many years?
If we have this season, it'll be my 30th and final.
30th and final. Okay, there you have it. You heard it here.
It's going to be my final no matter what. I'm going to be watching my son wrestle in college for the next 3 years.
For sure. Definitely. So you heard it here first. 30th and final. That is big and big news. Now, the coaches, speaking of which, having the knowledge of the rule books, are those going to come out to us this year?
I would hope so. I would hope it comes to you from the Interscholastic League. If not,
we didn't get them. I've never gotten a rule book.
It's $6.99 on Amazon, and you can get a nice electronic copy. But it's just like you said. From what I've from my perspective experience, more often than not, the coaches have a well-rounded understanding of the rules of the sport that they've seen. I've seen coaches who have taken time off from the sport and come back, and sometimes there's gaps in the knowledge and how the sport has adjusted and changed for a little bit. I've seen some of the coaches that I know that have had the absolute best understanding of the sport when they're watching somebody else besides their own kids. Sometimes just, and I know that myself. I took a year off from officiating and I coached, and you get blinders because you're so amped up on what is riding on this for that kid, that you miss the things that other people would have seen. I would fully 100% expect a coach in that head-to-head situation that I described come out there and start at least using words or language from the side of the bench, fighting for the opportunity to make sure that their kids are getting the points they think he deserved. But at the same time, it's my job as an official to keep a cooler head, to truly give an honest assessment of what just happened, and use my best judgment on the rules and hopefully the best impartial view that I can give to make sure that both wrestlers are given the same fair shake. I tell my referees all the time, it's these coaches are not out there with malice intent. They're out there fighting for their wrestlers. They're out there fighting for their kids. And sometimes that fight is going to skew their vision just a little bit. But at the same time, you got to listen to every word they say, because a lot of stuff that's coming out of their mouth is stuff that you may or may not have seen. You may have missed it. And so by giving them the opportunity to actually say their piece and listen to the words that are coming out of their mouth, they may give you a piece of information that you didn't have. You may or may not be able to do anything about it and fix it, but you got to take that time and hear it, because it's just,
Joe, you're one of the best at that, and I mean that. You've always given coaches the time of the day. Your response has always been respectful, and there's been times where I see you do a little head tilt and you think about it, but you've been always outstanding, one of the best for that. So I do appreciate, because you're not in an easy spot. I would hate to ref, I'll be honest with you.
Well, I mean, and the toughest thing, Scott, I'm working another sport like baseball, is even if I have a coach in baseball that comes out and wants me to get together on a call, I have another impartial person out there with me, sometimes two, sometimes three. Most of the time in wrestling, dual meets, tri meets, you are by yourself. Who are you going to ask? You're going to take his word for it? All right, if he's Joe, he locked hands. Really? You sure? It's unfortunately, unless it truly does come down to, I messed this rule up, and you are telling me something, and I go, oh shit, that is what the actual rule is. There's really not a lot that can be done in terms of the arguments. I got to let you vent. I've got to have you take your time. If you don't change my mind, you're going to get your misconduct warning, and then we're going to move on with our day. But, but at the same time, I've got to listen. I've got to take that time and listen, because I've got to hear it. If I'm not hearing it, I'm not doing my job.
Right.
But so these imminent scoring ones, I think, it's going to take some time for referees to really get the feeling for when they should be awarding points in those situations and when they shouldn't. And two, for coaches to really take that step back and go, but he was going to score. And did they see whether or not the fact that the kid's arm was about to snap off? Did they see that the injury happened, as they immediately made contact, and there's no way to say that he was definitely going to score? Can coaches put that through their mind? Can referees recognize it the right way? Those are going to be some tough things.
That's going to be where the waters are the muddiest, I think, too, with that new rule change. Coaches, let's just make sure that we, as a coaches association, take the time to go over the rule book, go over the new rules, understand it at least before we go to the table, yelling our heads off and not realizing, well, that rule was changed, or you don't quite know, and you're running just purely on emotion, and save some of these refs some heartache and some, emotion to, work more and better with the refs. And speaking of that, control the parents as best you can, because that also is a lot of pressure on our referees. And the money they make, really, sometimes some of the pressure from the coaches and the parents, it did not balance out. So definitely.
This all coming from the last guy that I gave a coaches on sportsmanlike conduct to.
Coming from, right? I was not going to say anything. That was the worst. I apologize. But I was looking for an escape, or at least a pushing.
I don't quite remember what the call was. All I know is he went to the table like an absolute maniac. And I went, whoa, 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 whoa. And he turned around and gave me, whoa, 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 and just mimicked the crap out of me right from the side of the mat.
As soon as that happened, my face just went. after the fact because I realized, like, what am I doing? He, right away banged me with it. And but it was Landon Giampietro. It was at these Providence duels there, and he gets up and gets an escape, faces him. Guy still has a collar tie on him, and then runs him off the mat. And I'm looking for a one, or maybe pushing him off the mat, a stalling, something. I got nothing, and I just lost it over a stupid point, which is ridiculous. And this wasn't even last year; this was the year before. So really, it was my first year coaching. I apologize. I've learned a lot since then. I'm definitely learned my lesson, and am not looking to get any more of those because that's just ridiculous. Again, make sure we know. Speaking of that, and we know the rules. We're on the same page, and we can go to the table calmly, effectively. State your case. Is it right? Is it wrong? The best at overturning calls ever, just to interrupt that thought for a second, is Coach Hennessy. Best I've ever seen. But also one of the best on the rules. I mean, he knows the rules inside out, upside and down. So, I mean, how can you argue with that? And
one of the best things that I can, say to coaches and stuff like that is you got to come with the argument, not with the emotion, not with that was two. He comes with the details. The details are already in the story. And like you said, he's one of the ways coaches can truly make an impact in a referee's mind is to come with the details and come with the language from the rule book ready to go, rather than just to say that's stalling or that's a takedown. Why is that stalling? Why is that a takedown? What is it that you're seeing that I'm not? Or what is it that I saw that you didn't? It's extremely helpful. Like I said, a lot of times in those judgment situations, it doesn't truly matter or help, especially when we're one-on-one. But it does. It is impactful. Last year in the state tournament, what match was it? 26. His guy versus Ponagansett, 26 or 32. One of those. It was a big match.
Was it Cook and Fallon or Joyce and Fallon? One of those.
Yep. In which there was a takedown on the edge that was ruled no takedown initially, and under old out of bounds rules would have been no takedown. But when they landed on the mat, they landed with one hand and one knee from a wrestler inbounds. It was not the scoring wrestler, so that's why it would have been out of bounds initially. But when they changed the rule to just say 2 points of contact, that's all they needed. Right. So it was originally ruled out of bounds. He came right to the table. He said that out loud. We talk about it as an officiating pair, and it was absolutely correct. It was the right thing to do and the right thing to change. And after it was explained to the opposing coach, they saw exactly that. There was no additional argument after that. And so, I mean, there is very high merit to coaching staffs knowing the rule book in language as much as they do anything else.
Right. So, awesome. Well, see if you can get all the coaches a copy of the rule book on the house. You hear me? No. Joe's
Tommy,
joint.
it took me many years to figure out, but refs always win. So
Scott, I wasn't going to bring that up. You
they pretty much do.
I don't think I've won a tournament yet.
But so I'm pretty much done with all of that. Yeah, he makes good points. And for all the coaches listening, definitely let's try to go to the table with that argument and, have our ducks in a row rather than just going yelling and screaming at the refs. Because guess what? Once you do that too, that puts a real bad taste in their mouth, and we don't really want to do that. So
it's hard to hear what you're saying when you just see. It's hard to hear what you're saying. It's a lot easier. It's a lot easier to listen.
Tommy, I got Kyle right here. Obviously, he wrestled. He was in all my practices. I've told my kids from the get-go that we don't let the referee control the match. If you lost by a point on a controversial call, you shouldn't have been
taken down.
So, Kyle, do I not say that in practice all the time?
Yeah, you lose by points and have gotten taken down.
You don't
let them up.
your destiny in the ref's hands. You shouldn't have been on your back, whatever it is.
Guys, I'll be honest from the referee's point of view, because this is one thing I try to get back to my guys is if it comes down to you, you got to get it right. They're getting paid. We're getting paid. We're not getting paid a ton, but we're getting paid to be out there doing a job. Our guys have to do a good job. They have to be self-evaluative. They have to do the best thing that they can. I consistently go around on my nights off and watch our referees videotape them, give them notes. Our guys are asked if they can to bring video recording devices of their own. If they can't, ask the teams if they have the stuff to send it to them. As we said, we work by ourselves. So the only way you're going to be able to evaluate yourself is if you can see it. Nobody else is there. Nobody else is there getting the opportunity to watch you. So we have to have pride in what is it we do. We have to, if we get a call wrong and we lose our match ourselves, it made it, even if the score was 11-3 and that call had no impact, you fuck up a takedown. Sorry, my language. You've lost that match. The same way a wrestler needs to turn around and win his next one, so do we. We've got to get that next one right. We've got to do that next thing right. We have to work at it. We can't just say, I missed it, so what? That's not what a wrestler would do. That's not what a coach would do. That's not what a good wrestler or a good coach would do. A good official is going to look back at himself. He's going to evaluate himself on that night, and he's going to work to get better. Scott, I love your attitude, and I love your point of view, and I love that you instill that in your kids. But I would turn and work back to officials at every sport, at every level. If you're out there and you're taking a paycheck to do this, you've got to continue to get better. You've got to keep working. You got to make yourself better. If you're not trying to get better, then you belong on the JV squad, just like every JV wrestler is just showing up to the practice room. That's it. Yep. We all got to keep getting better.
Joe, Kyle's junior year, one of my proudest moments of everything that he accomplished was in a loss. And it was in the finals with Nick Fine. He lost by a point. And, I definitely, disagreed with a stance of some back points. Either way, it was an awesome match. But to watch my son get up and ask the referee if he could raise Nick's hand, it was one of my proudest moments, to see, Kyle gave it his all. We don't put it in the referee's hands. Whether the two back points were there or not didn't matter. When he asked to raise Nick Vine's hand, it was one of my proudest moments. And I had a lot of coaches and referees talking to me about, how classy he is. So like I says, I've taught my wrestlers, and I hope that, will we see the utmost sincerity with me. We're going to give it our best fight. And at the end of the day, the best guy wins. I don't put it in the refs, control.
Wow. Right. Scott, he was a lot of fun to watch. A lot of fun to watch from the side of the mat. I ref many of his matches. I watched a lot. It's a great kid to compete with. Great kid to be on the mat with. And as far as yourself, with this, if this is your last year, an absolute pleasure to be on the mat with you at all times. I've never had a bad thing to say about you. It's always been a blast. So looking forward to one more season.
Likewise.
And which is one of the reasons why Kyle got the Sportsmanship Award this year for Rhode Island. Well deserved. Again, congratulations on that. And all of your accomplishments. And going back to you, Joe, what you said about refs evaluating their matches and all that, it's going to be possible. We're going to be doing a lot of live streaming this year of the matches, so they're going to be able to go and watch the after the fact the match and see how they could have called that differently or not, because we are going to have that available not only just on a live stream in a silent gym, but we're going to have commentation as well. We're going to have guest coaches. You're going to have the match score and the team score up there. It's going to be a real nice production, and that's what we plan on doing for, the Cranston West matches and beyond. Some of the other matches, we're going to open up that for some of the other teams as well, so that not only the wrestlers can.
That'll be great, because my understanding, my nephew, fans are going to be allowed in.
Right, which is the reason why, Ron Robert, SFBN, RI, myself have, talked about putting this together so we can live stream a lot of these matches, because in some cases, who knows, there may not be spectators allowed. As of right now, I don't think there's going to be any spectators allowed. So this is going to be big. It's going to be an opportunity for the parents, grandparents, anyone across the world to see their grandchild or son, daughter wrestle from anywhere and don't actually have to be in the gym, and in the same breath saying that the refs can evaluate their reffing performance that night and see where, oh, maybe that wasn't, or maybe I called that too early. So everybody's going to be able to see that, and hopefully one day even replay comes into effect, like they do in the college matches for Division I. If not for the dual meets, definitely for like the state championship and things like that.
Any official in any sport that tells you that they don't want replay is their ego's in their way. I would welcome it. I would welcome it.
We will have that capability as well. We're going to be running several different cameras. We're going to be switching to cameras as the match is going on. So this is going to be an exciting season for me as a coach and for a co-producer of the live stream wrestling. So lots of things to look forward to. And with that, I'm going to wrap it up and wrap up Refs Rule and this segment with Kyle Merritt and Father Scott Merritt, head coach of Charahoe. I want to thank you guys for taking the time to join us and talk to us here tonight and let everybody know about some of your feelings. Kyle, about, what created some of your and attributed or contributed to your success, and Joe coming on explaining some of those rules, being a great sport, and Kyle announcing your official retiring from Charahoe to continue to watch Kyle in his college career, which I have a feeling and am hoping and knowing that it will be a successful one. So, guys, thank you once again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No problem. It's been a pleasure. And for all the coaches out there, let's take everything that we know tonight, bring it with us to the practice room. Let's look forward to a great season. I appreciate all the viewers over the past few months since we started this, and all the viewers tonight. You've been watching Snapdown Wrestling with Tommy Lynch from SFBN Rhode Island, sfbnri.com. Everybody have a great night. Sorry we ran a little long tonight, but thanks for hanging in there. We had a lot of viewers, and we'll catch you next time on Snapdown Wrestling.